Melinda Hipp, you have over 25 years of experience in the mortgage industry, and you love working with baby boomers and older generation homeowners to help them utilize their home equity in retirement. So I'm really curious, why did you get started with reverse mortgages? What is it that drew you to that?
Sure. Well, it's kind of a long story, so I have to kind of tell the short version, but I was in the mortgage business for several years, and we didn't have the reverse mortgage program nor any kind of home equity loans at all in the state of Texas. And finally, we pushed through the legislature to allow them to vote, and the whole state voted on getting home equity loans in Texas. At the same time, we voted on a reverse mortgage. And about that same time, this was the early 2000s, late 1990s, early 2000s, about that same time, I was working with my grandmother to her retirement or late stages here in San Antonio. And she was fine with dealing with things herself, but I was kind of her overseer. And I got to meet all these wonderful people in the senior living business. And we were just starting to get assisted living homes and all those kinds of senior housing options around San Antonio then. And I just got to meet the most wonderful people. They were all happy with what they did. They loved their jobs. And so it just kind of meshed up that I thought, well, I'll start dabbling in the reverse mortgages since they were just coming out and kind of make that my specialty. Well, did I not know that all these years later, I really loved it. Lots of changes from the government, from the state. But I have made it now my whole career. I got out of doing any other kind of loans and just make that my total career, because the baby boomers are just growing so fast and coming on even more and don't have as much money as they thought they were going to have. So.
Right. So you're really focusing there. That's where your heart is, to service these folks. What is it about the reverse mortgage that obviously it's helping folks do certain things, right? But give me an example of how it's helping somebody.
Oh gosh, I have so many stories from everywhere, from somebody who wanted to start a business in retirement, but didn't really want to pull from his retirement funds to do that. And his silliest job he liked as a hobby to repair clocks. And so he's like, I really want to do that as a career, but I don't know what to do, and I don't have the funds to go do my own shop. So he took out a reverse mortgage. He transformed his garage into a studio workshop and has his own retirement job repairing clocks. Hopefully, he's getting a lot of business. I haven't kept up with him, but everywhere from a widow who's been, lost her husband, maybe, usually some of the older women that weren't in the workforce who really weren't taught the right way to handle their own finances or learn about things that more women my age have learned how to handle. And they just need some help with understanding where the money's coming from, or maybe they weren't told the whole truth. So
let's talk a little bit about what a reverse mortgage is. So just kind of go through that for me real quick.
Sure. Well, reverse mortgage is a type of home equity loan that you utilize the home equity. So you've got this house, it's been appreciating all these years, and you don't want to leave it. So we call it use your home to stay at home. Well, how am I going to get the equity out of this home when it's my biggest asset? Well, I can sell it. Sure, I can sell it. I can call Ty and I can go sell the house. But where am I going to live? I've got to live somewhere, and it's going to cost me money. So it's going to cost me more to go out and live somewhere else if I sell that house. So by utilizing the equity, we're able to pull that equity out of the house and give them options to take that money. Either they can take it in a monthly payment, or they can leave it in a line of credit and draw it out when they need it. Or if they need to pay off a mortgage that they already have, a small mortgage, they need to pay off debt. They're using that equity for something now or in the future by leaving it in a line of credit, and then they don't have to make a payment. So we're going to let the remaining equity in the house and the future appreciation of that real estate pay for the interest on the loan. So it's not paid back until they either sell that house in the future, which they can sell at any time, or when they pass away, their heirs, whoever is taking over the house in the will take over that house and decide, I'm going to sell it and pay the loan back at that time, or they can keep the house by paying off that loan, whatever the balance is at that time.
Gotcha. Okay, well, that's pretty good. I mean, it's a little low stress there.
A lot of low stress for a lot of people. I mean, everything from, people who just take a monthly payment and say, now I don't have to stress about paying the bills, or get rid of a mortgage payment, which of course increases cash flow, which a lot of people took early retirement in the pandemic. So just paying off that mortgage really decreases a lot of stress.
So let's talk about some factors that maybe affect how much you can get.
Sure. So we have a sliding scale. It's a lot different from any other type of loan you're ever going to get. A couple of things, major factors. We go up to $970,000, even though this is an FHA insured loan. We go up to $970,000, which is higher than any other standard loan type that you're going to get outside of a jumbo loan. We go by a sliding scale, so we're not going to look at your credit, we're not going to look at your debt to income ratio, we're going to look at your age. Are you 62 or are you 90 or somewhere in between? So there's going to be a sliding scale because we're going to use the rest of your life to pay off that loan. So if you are going to accrue interest for 30 more years, we're not going to give you as much at 62.
Okay.
If you're 90, well, your life expectancy is not as long. So we're able to calculate and give you more money.
Is that the biggest factor, age?
It is. The biggest factor is age, and then, of course, the value of your house.
What about the health of the person?
Health has nothing to do with this. This is strictly a financial product, so we have no say in your health or your age or your lifestyle. I mean, your age doesn't play a part. People always go, well, I can't get a mortgage when I'm 90. Well, yes, you can, because age is actually a discrimination factor, so we can't discriminate on age.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I got you. It does seem like, though, as a business model that, age obviously would be, something that you guys would be looking at, but also the health of the client. But then you get into sticky areas, you can't really even focus on that at all.
I mean, the only time we would get into health areas is if somebody needs to use a power of attorney. And then we do need to make sure that the power of attorney has been obtained legally and for what reason.
Okay, and also the mental health of the person with the power of attorney, because that affects you guys as well, right?
Well, right. I mean, yes. The power of attorney, there is a counseling session that's done during this process.
Okay.
And so whoever the person is that's going to be signing the documents has to do that counseling session, and the counselor, which is trained by HUD, actually will determine if that person is mentally competent or not. It's not my responsibility, it's actually the counselor's responsibility. I take some responsibility, but the counselor is mostly taking the responsibility.
So let's talk a little bit about dispersing of funds. I know you touched on this already, but so what are some ways people actually can get the money?
Right. So it really depends on if you're paying off a mortgage. A lot of folks just want to pay off a mortgage, and we just would call that a lump fund distribution, lump sum. So even though you're not getting the money, the title company's going to pay off the mortgage. They're going to order the payoff and pay off that mortgage.
So what they're trying to do there is eliminate their monthly payment.
Eliminate the monthly mortgage payment.
Gotcha.
So a mortgage elimination program. So that's how you have to look at it at that point. And it's for people with smaller mortgage amounts left, because we're using the equity in the house. So that I would say a lump sum. But if somebody had no mortgage, you could still do a type of lump sum if you wanted to, help the kids go to college, or you had a lot of bills to pay off, or debt to pay, or you needed a new car, you want to go on a round-the-world cruise, for God's sake, it's time to retire. So there are a lot of things you can do with it, but you probably don't need all the equity in your house to even go on a round-the-world cruise. So you could take some money in a lump sum and leave the rest in a line of credit and just draw it out when you need it. And the greatest factor of the line of credit is that it keeps growing and gives you access to more equity as time goes by. So you're basically rewarded by not touching all of your funds in the house, by leaving a line of credit. And then it continues to grow as time goes by. And then a lot of folks, especially older, tend to be, when they're older, will say, well, I just need a little bit additional income, or maybe I need to pay for somebody to come to the house and take care of me. So a home care provider to come to the house.
Gotcha.
And that's a great way to take a monthly payment. We can set it up where it just comes automatically every month and go straight into the bank account, and then you could use that to pay the caregiver with.
Okay, cool. All right, and what about costs associated with getting one of these loans?
So there's two ways to look at the costs, and I always like to say, first of all, they're not coming out of your pocket. The cost of the loan are all going to be rolled in as long as you have enough equity in the house. I mean, obviously, we're going to do that calculation. You're not putting anything out of your pocket except not even over $500 out of your pocket to start the loan. Every other cost is going to be rolled in. That's the first thing. You're going to pay the same cost you would as if you go out to get a regular mortgage, with one big exception, and that's the mortgage insurance. The mortgage insurance, which you do have on some other types of loans that are rolled into the loan, but the mortgage insurance that it comes from HUD, is paid directly to HUD and FHA, ensures that the loan gets paid back to the lender, even if you don't pay it back.
Okay.
So we don't know the future. None of us can predict the future, unfortunately. So we don't know what will happen in 15, 20, 30 years. We don't know what happened tomorrow. But that mortgage insurance ensures that if they cannot pay the loan back, or if the heirs take over and the heirs have no equity left in the house, or if for some reason the neighborhood has just gone downhill, or the aliens have invaded and taken over the neighborhood,
Don't say
and nobody
that.
wants to live there. I mean, I make up crazy stories, but we can't predict the future. So
Well, it has been a crazy decade. I'll
it
tell
has
you.
been a crazy decade. So I just say we don't know what the future is. So this is what's protecting you. You never have any recourse at the end of the loan. If you live long enough and you actually are upside down, meaning you owe back more than the house is worth at that time, you actually beat the bank at that point.
Right.
Because you're not supposed to go upside down. It's calculated so we don't want you to go upside down. But if you do and you live long enough, there's still no recourse to you. And you actually can do a little dance and say, I beat the bank for once in my life.
Celebrate, right? All right, so if people want to get in touch with you to get more information about getting a reverse mortgage, how do they do that?
Sure, very easy. They can Google me, Melinda Hipp, Mutual of Omaha. They can go to my website, which is very easy. It's texasreverse.net. Or they can give me a call at 210-493-7332.
All right, awesome.